Rabindranath Tagore essentially was a great poet, but I think he didn't really expose that men also suffered during that age. Most of the things that he essentially showed were women's pain and women's suffrage, but I think he didn't do a fair job essentially to show how men of that age also suffered in wars, famines, disease. Right, millions of men were killed in wars. Right, I mean he didn't do a fair job in exposing the pain of men of that age.
Were you always of this opinion?
No, I started to look at things differently after I joined this movement in 2008, right? I got a whole new perspective. Like, I have a very technical, opinion of things. And when I looked at data, when I looked at the, number of men who essentially die in India every year, right? Of suicides, of they're like forced to take their own lives, and the historical the historical lifespan of men from all the way since 1913, what I found was that men on an average have lived at least 5 years less than women, right, over the past 113 years. And this data is coming from our Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. So how can the oppressed outlive the oppressor, right? So the oppressed have to die before the oppressor, right? But here the data shows something completely different. So when I started to see things in new light, then I dug more into this, and that is how I framed my thought of mind. Changes that I underwent were essentially technical in nature, because I really didn't look at things in this way. I didn't analyze facts. I basically took facts, what were told to me, and then essentially I believed them. What this movement essentially taught me is to analyze facts.
I'll interrupt you. Can you define this movement? Name it and define it.
But I would just call it a men's rights movement or a men's movement. I mean, you can actually give it any name you want to, and I don't think the name really matters. What this movement tells you is that don't believe facts, what you are told, analyze them, think of them yourself, and see if they really fit the bill of what the data actually says.
And who's giving these wrong facts?
The wrong facts is being fed from multiple sources. I would start off with our epics Ramayana and Mahabharata, which like also Ramayana and Mahabharata essentially did not shed a tear for the millions of men who died in war, right? But they have a lot of focus on how Draupadi's izzat was essentially stripped in that in the court, right? So I think that they didn't give an equal amount of what do you call focus on what men did at that age and how men died trying to save the kingdom as well as their wives and children, right? So that is where it starts, right? And over the years, if you look at our historical epics, the pain of men has been turned down. Even in the movies nowadays, right, you see men being beaten up black and blue in all the movies, right, and people clap, right? While when a woman strips on the screen, or when a woman is raped, people feel sympathy for her. But when a man is beaten up, even if he's a villain, or even if he's a gunda, nobody sheds a tear. Why is that? So this type of media essentially desensitizes men about the violence against them. Men feel that people feel that men don't feel pain, and that is why it is okay to hurt them.
How about the education system?
The education system essentially teaches us from childhood that women is your protectee. You need to look after your mother, sister, daughter, wife, grandma, right? And men have this inherent responsibility to actually look after them, even if it is at the cost of their lives, right? So this is constantly drilled into every kid, right? So I think this should change. There should be gender studies in schools is only about women's issues. Where are the men's issues focused in the area of gender studies? Why don't we have a gender studies for men? Right? So these are some things that I would actually look into, and I would request the education department to look into and then change.
What kind of gender studies are you looking at out here?
I'm actually looking at gender studies focused specifically at issues of men. Men have their own set of unique issues, right? Men have unique health issues, right? Men smoke a lot, men drink, which are vices. But you need to reform them in the proper way. So men need to be taught about these things. Secondly, men have unique health things like prostate cancer, right? They suffer the majority of heart attacks and cardiovascular diseases. So they have to be taught of these things. They have to be taught that they are in no way inferior. They are not villains to actually begin with. And most importantly, they must look at the other man with a sympathetic eye. They must not look at the other man in the form of a competitive eye, and neither must he harbor any hatred towards that man. today the male to male hatred is extremely high. Now you see, on the road, like if a woman shouts that I'm being molested, 10 men start to beat up this man without thinking. He might be nobody to you. You might not even know him, right? You just go and start to beat him. Why is that? Why do men have to be beaten, right? So there is a lot of male to male hatred that actually starts in school and then grows up. So this needs to be controlled, and there has to be specific gender studies for men itself.
And you think this happens in school because men are taught to keep women on a pedestal?
Men are taught to keep women on a pedestal, that is one, and secondly they are taught that the other man is essentially your competitor, right? That is one, and the other man is a villain to begin with. Men are portrayed as bad, men are portrayed as abusers of women. Historically, that is what they have done, and at a moment's notice they will actually do this. The second point that I want to bring is that men are actually depicted as sex machines, that whenever a man can have sex anytime he wants, and he always has the urge and desire to have sex. This is what is shown in the movies, this is what is shown in the any type of media, press and media, that men always want to have sex. So this is something that needs to change. The urge of a man is equal or sometimes less than the urge of a woman, and it is fine. So but the fact that but if you see the cases today, if a boyfriend essentially denies marriage to his girlfriend, he's being accused of rape. But when the girlfriend denies the same thing, she is called an empowered woman. Why is that? She should also be called a rapist. Girlfriend should also be called a rapist. But it does not work in that way. Why is that? There are hundreds of cases which essentially in which the boyfriend and girlfriend were in a consensual sexual relationship, and when it broke down due to whatever reason, the boyfriend is termed a rapist by the courts and by the girlfriend.
Why do you think this happens? How come the courts don't know all that you know?
See, the courts essentially are composed of men who I don't think have got this, who have got a lot of misandry in them. Misandry is the hatred of men, right? So they have a lot of inherent misandry in them. I think even they need to be taught the gender theory about the specific issues that men face, right? Because gender studies as such has been only about women right from day one. So this needs to change. It is all about educating the courts, educating the media, educating the bureaucracy, educating the netas. Everyone needs education about the issues that men face.
About the courts, you're speaking from some personal experience.
No. I think every day
you've met lawyers. You've met.
I have met lawyers. I have met the senior lawyers also, and I have met like a lot of honorable justices also. And what I see is that they really don't understand the pain of men, right? They just really don't. They are not doing this out of sheer desire to hurt men. They just don't understand. They feel that men don't even feel pain, right? For example, if you break off with your girlfriend and you are termed a rapist, then you would lose your job, you would lose your friends, and this tag remains with you for your whole life. Even if you are acquitted by the court after 5 years, which typically happens in most of the rapes, this does not wipe out the ignominy that you have actually suffered. And there is no way that the government even compensates you for this. So if the government would actually step up and say that, okay, I was the one, or my law termed you a rapist, now I will take care of you, right? Once you are freed, that would have still made sense. But you are just left to fend off. Baizat Bali that you hear in the movies for rape does not really happen in real life. This tag sticks with you for as long as you live.
Okay. Why do you think media turns a blind eye to men?
Media does not turn a complete blind eye. Media is trying to, address the issues of men, but it is a very slow and steady uphill battle that we have. If you look at our status in 2004, I think there were very, very few, articles in the press and the media, but now things are slowly started to change. I think the media has also suffered, like a lot of folks in the media have had cases against them, but I think the media is still trying to change. But I think the issue is in the government now.
Who's running this operation?
I'm not trying to favor anybody. I think women should have their rights. Women have rights, and women need to be protected. Nobody is denying that. But protecting women does not mean denying protection to men. That is all that I'm saying. If you accuse somebody of rape falsely, he has to be rehabilitated back at the government's cost. You cannot leave him to fend off from the street after 5 years of a court case. The same thing also goes with 498A. The same thing also goes with DV. A man is shattered, battered, shattered. He loses everything, money, his friends, everything. And this tag is with him for his entire life. So how does he integrate back into the normal, life?
What happens to the woman who falsely accuses the man?
Nobody shows their name. She has got complete immunity
Anonymity.
right from day one. Nobody knows her name.
And you feel they should be punished?
Yes, absolutely. Extraordinary cost has to be imposed on any person who files a false case, files a false gender case. It is not the question of women being punished. I think it is a question of men getting equal treatment first. That is our very first thing that I think would be fair. So more than punishing a criminal who files a false case, I think giving equal opportunities to both the genders to raise their concerns is the first step that the government needs to take. The second step, what can it do is it can actually create gender neutral laws. It can actually allocate separate budget for men and for men's issues. And thirdly, it has to prosecute the false cases, and basically it needs to impose exemplary cost, number one. And secondly, also the men who have gone through this ordeal for the past 4 to 5 years, whether it's a rape case or a false case of dowry, have gone through something called as a legal rape. Right? In a legal rape, you lose your peace of mind, you lose your job, you lose your money, you lose your status, right? And you are basically reduced to a wreck, right? So this is exactly what a physical rape does. So here the system is trying to rape you on a false pretext. So where does this man go? So this man has to be rehabilitated back into the normal social structure. And of course, exemplary cost has to be imposed on people who file all these false cases.
Okay. Pleasure, Arnab.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.